Chapter 1. Rock Bottom. Brian woke up before his alarm. He didn't need to check the clock to know he'd slept badly. His body felt heavy, leaden, and his thoughts were already racing ahead of him, though the morning had barely begun. The room was dim, the blinds letting in only a pale slice of early light. He rolled onto his back and stared at the ceiling. One thought circled in his mind like a vulture. Why even get up? Yesterday had been his last day at the office where he'd worked for almost 8 years, not by choice. The official word was downsizing, but Brian knew better. He was simply expendable. The company would spin on without him as if he'd never been there. 8 years, he muttered to the ceiling. The job wasn't just a paycheck. It had been his anchor, the structure of his days, part of his identity. And now the anchor was gone, and his ship was drifting with no direction, no map. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Brian grabbed it, though he knew what awaited him, a string of notifications. Rent payment processed, car insurance withdrawn, credit card due. Each alert felt less like information and more like a threat. "Perfect," he said dryly. "Another day, another bill." He scrolled, hoping for something good. There wasn't. Just a meme from an old buddy, a dumb joke that would have made him smile once, but now only irritated him. Brian swung his legs off the bed and rubbed his face. The room felt small, the air thick. From the kitchen he caught the faint smell of yesterday's coffee still sitting cold in the pot. "So, what now?" he asked aloud. Of course, no answer came. He shuffled into the kitchen. The fridge offered little. A carton of eggs, half a bottle of milk. Once, he laughed at himself for eating like a college kid, but now it felt more like a metaphor for his life. Just scraps, nothing that could really hold together. "You're 32 years old," his inner voice sneered, "and you're living like a broke undergrad." Brian poured himself a glass of water, sat at the table, and automatically picked up his phone again. He scrolled through Instagram. Vacation photos, promotions, new relationships. Everyone seemed to be moving forward while he was stuck sinking deeper. The more he looked, the worse it felt. You lost. You're irrelevant. You're a mistake. He tossed the phone on the couch just to shut the voice up. After a while, he grabbed his jacket and stepped outside. The morning air was crisp, sharper than he expected, but it cleared his head a little. He walked aimlessly through the city. People rushed past with laptops, coffee cups, briefcases. They all looked like they had somewhere to be. And he didn't. He stopped in front of a bookstore window. A row of shiny new business and self-help titles stared back at him. The Secrets of Millionaires. Think like a leader. Climbing the Peak. He smirked. "Easy to talk about the peak when you're already standing on top," he muttered. Annoyance flared in him. It seemed absurd that people wrote about success when they'd never known what it felt like to wake up hollow, jobless, and scared. A few blocks later, he collapsed on a park bench. His mind replayed the last few months. The endless overtime, the constant talk of budget cuts, the tension in the office. He'd ignored the signs. He wanted to believe he mattered. But now, sitting on that bench, it was clear he hadn't. "They'll forget your name in a month," the voice hissed. Brian clenched his fists. The pressure in his chest was a mix of anger and despair. He wanted to scream, to shake it off, but people were passing by, so he just closed his eyes and whispered, "I don't know what to do." Later that night, sitting in a bar with his buddy, the same one who'd sent the morning meme, Brian finally said it out loud. "They let me go, and I don't know what comes next." His friend frowned. "That sucks, man, but maybe it's a chance. You hated that job half the time anyway. You used to say you wanted something more." Brian gave a bitter laugh. "A chance? To go broke? To disappoint my parents? To feel like I don't exist? He took a long swig. I feel empty, man. Like they ripped out the one thing keeping me afloat. His friend leaned back. I get it, but sometimes it's like swimming. You don't move forward until you push off the bottom. The words hit Brian harder than he expected. You don't move forward until you push off the bottom. He wanted to dismiss it, but he couldn't. Something deep inside him stirred. Back home that night, he couldn't sleep. He kept turning those words over and over. Alongside them came his father's voice on the phone earlier that day. Gruff, unsympathetic, but unavoidably true. Sometimes it's not about being needed by someone else, it's about being needed by yourself. Those two voices tangled in his head until sunrise. And then, for the first time in weeks, Brian reached for his old notebook. On a blank page, he wrote, "What can I do tomorrow?" He stared at it. The first answers were small, almost laughable. Get a haircut. Clean the apartment. Make a to-do list. But for some reason, writing them down didn't feel pathetic. It felt like a spark. A start. When he finally set the notebook aside and lay down, he realized he wasn't sinking anymore. Not swimming, but no longer drowning either. For the first time in a long time, Brian fell asleep with the faint, fragile thought that maybe tomorrow could be different.